Check, check. And we are back for yet another edition of this logical analysis. I'm going to try to finish everything up today. Had some technical difficulties the last couple days. We'll get it figured out. Streamlabs wanted to be difficult today too, so you never know what's going to happen. But I think we can say that everything is working smooth and solidly right now. Check, check. Making sure you can hear me. All right. So we were just finishing up with the second claim. And we're going to try to get through the rest of this here, so bear with me. I, as usual, want to make sure we're clear, regardless of what I think of the claim, even though I will give my opinion on, how well structured the argument is or how hard the claim is to argue against. We're examining argumentation, not necessarily conclusions here. So are they on topic? Are they actually addressing the claim? That might be the biggest thing you have to deal with when it comes to these Jubilee debates. Because, to be frank, they tend to agree on a lot of shit, I guess, depending on which ones you're watching. Or somebody makes a claim that's kind of hard to disagree with fully, so you have to get into specifics on something small, or just start talking about something differently entirely. So you never know what form it's gonna take, but it's usually gonna be somebody making a stupid argument. I'm not gonna lie, even if somebody is on topic, sometimes they'll be making a stupid argument. There's usually a couple people you can find, in this one, again, they can make good arguments, but a lot of the time they do it on a side tangent or something that's not really related to whether the claim is true or not. So they have a hard time staying on topic in that regard. But we'll see what the next claim is. I think we might have started it last time, but let's see.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand the news, allowing you to dive deep into the topics that matter to you and the world around you. Their work is trying to break the bias bubble, helping you understand how every side of the political spectrum is reporting on a story, so you get a full picture of the news. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. They deliver the facts, unbiased, balanced, and designed to make sense of a complex world, getting you the clarity you deserve and news you can trust. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel. You also take advantage of a better way to get the news. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now,
that's a bold claim.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
So, she's not lying. Let's see her. So, yeah, this claim is true. It's backed by data and history. Yeah, so I don't know how they're gonna argue against this.
Hello?
Hello, John.
John Samuel.
Hello, John Samuel.
They got they gotta find them some really clever coons to try to argue against this one. Or just dumb.
First name. All right.
Blame my parents.
Hi, parents.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way?
Oh, John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel.
I ain't gonna lie, this is a stupid question right off the bat, because what she used to support the claim, right? The initial claim is systematic racism isn't a theory. It's a lived reality. Right? So that's basically the claim right there. And then she said and the reason why she believes this is because it's backed by data and history. Now, I guess you could say like she has to prove that there's like data in history, and I think that that's like something you can get into, like that's, but you can't, like she can just present it to you, like it's just readily available. It's just like in pretty much any form of history you look at, like, so I mean, like, and in the data, I mean, kind of, it's kind of vague to say like data in history. It's like yeah, there's probably some data you can find on it, but like that's why I just say like history in general. Like, yeah, you can see it in history, you can see it documented, maybe even numbers of people affected by whatever they did. But yeah, the claim is true, so it's gonna be hard to argue against it, and to start from the beginning asking why she believes that when she said it's backed by data and history. It's like, I mean, you might as well just start asking for like the data and history and just like skip this whole like, oh, why do you believe this? It's like, because now she's probably about to go on like a whole like rhetorical rant. Let's see.
Feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws.
And just so you guys know, this is what I meant to say earlier. I don't watch these ahead of time. Like I might see some like clips from them or whatever, and a lot of the time that'll be what makes me want to do a logical analysis of it, of the entire thing, to see like what people are actually saying. Because I know they do like little jump cuts and shit too. I don't really point them out because I'm not really here to do that. Because sometimes it's not even that bad. Like if you're actually just listening to what the person is saying, a lot of the time it doesn't really change much. But yeah, I don't. This is a raw reaction. Like this is how I really like look at this stuff and break this shit down. It might be a little different because I'm streaming, but like, yeah, for the most part, like I'm giving it to you unfiltered. There's no bias here.
Laws to,
at least besides my just regular personal bias, obviously. But I haven't seen this in like formulated an argument and anything.
challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen
Fact check, true.
numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance and they were taken back under the auspices of we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe?
Okay, so I was wrong about the rhetorical rant. She basically just provided him evidence.
Perpetuates,
even though he didn't necessarily ask for evidence. Like she knew that there was like no point in like kind of doing it. I guess she just went straight into the data because she knows that that's what she wants to argue about, which, you know, props to her. She's prepared, clearly.
It's that cycle of racism. Redlining. Okay. Yes. And how does that, like, you know, can you elaborate? Like, how is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land. And that inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or rent, continue to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly.
And like, look, the reason I'm not like interrupting and calling anything out here is not because I have any type of bias or anything, or because I'm even Black. It's just like the shit she's saying is pretty much documented. Like they were kind of, they were basically, some people were actually documenting it while they were doing it. I mean, that's why there's such hard direct evidence to find of it, but at least as far as like, you know, paperwork of them, like, you know, saying all this stuff, whatever, if you're the type of person that wants like super hard evidence. But no, this was an admitted to practice. And even if they didn't admit to it, like the effect that it's had, like you can see how that would support the systematic racism theory, because it was a system. Whether or not it was even like explicitly written out in the system, you can create a system without like documenting the system. right? And if we can kind of point out what's going on here and make the proper connections, then I mean, it's valid. It's a valid theory, you might say, but depending on the kind of evidence and connections you have, like it ceases to be a theory and just basically a reality. It's like, if you can make the observation, like you got to do more than just like anecdotes or anything. Like,
is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation and they've continued on and they've continually just oppressed black people and we haven't dismantled them and we haven't done much to them, so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now,
we haven't dismantled the culture of racism. What does that mean? We haven't dismantled the culture of racism? Can't, like, first of all, is there a culture of racism? That's just the first thing I think when I hear that. Like, is there, like, I think some, like, people are just racist. I don't know if I mean, I guess, if you talk about different groups of races, there's technically different cultures of racism. I don't know. I get what she's saying, but I'm just like, can we dismantle the culture of racism? Like, is that a thing? Is it really like a culture, or is it just like, people having biases?
Now we saw like there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves. There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where black people had one appraisal when they had their blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all those items and put up white people and a dog in the house and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances. Now, of course, that is just Marin County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to say, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But
okay, so is he conceding something here?
the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama. That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that
it looked like it's hey, I mean, I feel like he's conceding a bit here. So like kind of agreeing with her, like, are they even like debating right now?
that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst all these systems, so to speak. And he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's. That the great grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before. Because before, I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days.
Well, he said as they were before. Is he shifting the goalposts? It doesn't really matter whether they're in place as they were before. Our point is that it's not a theory, it's a reality.
When we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with those people who are perpetuating these racist ideals. And so I feel like just
Yup. Check. Had a little glitch there. Yeah, ever since this update, it's just been like fucking with me. But let's see.
to attack these systems.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I know it's frozen here for me on my screen. So, oh, you know what? There we go. Yeah, man. Windows, man. All right, so
it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
Whether
Congress?
it's nonsensical. Is it working now? Sorry, I want to make sure you guys can see the video.
whether it's the prison industrial complex, we're seeing this now with.
Right.
So he kind of shifted the goalposts because her point was that the systematic racism is a reality, and he shifted it to like I don't think the systems are in place the same way, because he kind of conceded that they existed, and then he's like, I think it's like our fault as people who perpetuate the racism. Like he somehow, I don't know how he did this. At least this is what I heard from what he said. He somehow flipped it to like blame the people pointing out that like, yeah, there were like systems to keep us held back, and we kind of be stupid to think they just don't exist today anymore, even if they're not explicitly written out. But we can't act like it didn't happen. And he's just kind of saying like, oh well, we need to stop focusing on this stuff and stop talking about this stuff and stop trying to do the reverse racism because we're the ones who keep the cycle going. Like, that's what I'm hearing from him. So you somehow like have, I mean, is this victim blaming? I hate to use that term, but like this is basically what he's doing. Like, or even if you're not the victim, like you're pointing out that there were victims of a certain thing. That's all you're doing. And you're acknowledging it and taking it into account. But he's just like, oh no, don't think about any of that.
With immigration and ICE, we're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those systems? So for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed.
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems. I'm not trying to.
All right, guys, I'm so sorry. You haven't voted out. Please return to your seat.
Oh, Lord.
So to go back to your claim, you basically
They voted him out. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they agree with me, but like, yeah, I mean, what he said was kind of wild. Like, that wasn't really an argument at all, to be honest. But he tried.
said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly said they are not in favor of what their people said, or
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not, for instance, like when it comes to like guns in the classroom, like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman. Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where two black Democrats, I believe, were
Hold on. Another glitch here, folks. This shit is crazy. All right, we're good now?
actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found it really like insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from.
Yeah, so they're not letting their people speak. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Democrats. Or is Tennessee? They said Tennessee, right? Tennessee are they conservative? Or is it like some, like, I don't know. What? I don't think there was any like real specification in like what city or whatever. I mean, they probably talked about it earlier, but
said we do not want guns in the classroom, and they were like, well, we don't care, we're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are black and not silence.
hold on.
Let's go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly said they are not in favor of what their people said, or
yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So, for instance, like when it comes to like guns,
is Tennessee like Democrat or Republican? I guess it doesn't matter. She probably wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't like some kind of conservative state, though. So I'm just gonna assume that. And I'm pretty sure Tennessee is conservative. I just don't want to just be guessing. But we'll just do that for now.
guns in the classroom. Like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman. Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where two black
So he agrees.
Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal ability, your personal choice through?
So I think at least for whatever this is, he's saying like this isn't some like racist systematic idea to hold black people back. It's just like personal vendettas. Now, her response, I don't really understand. Like, I don't necessarily agree with him personally, but as far as his argument, he's right. It's plausible that it could be like, you know, in some reality, this could just be like, you know, they might just have a personal vendetta against that black person. Maybe because they're racist, but like, there's no real way to know that for sure, unless they kind of just overtly show it, which I don't think most of them are doing, at least not to most people. So I don't know, for her to act like it's just for sure racism the way she did. I just you could be a little honest.
True impediment of law change.
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessary.
It doesn't have to be written in a law. That's why she can make the claim she's making even without like hard evidence. I mean, all you really need is for somebody to like say it, and like for even if it's just like one group of people in the government, like one like shady agency that has been proven to have been motivated by racial animus when like making certain decisions for black people, like it's systemic at that point. It's more systemic and it's concrete if it's written down and into the system. But the thing is, even if it's not explicitly written into the system now, we can't act as if it wasn't in the past and that it never existed and that it just somehow disappeared. We can't do that either.
Necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education.
But I think there's already other stuff written into law that you can't do it like strictly by racial means. I'm pretty sure that's the thing. Like, wasn't that what civil rights did? Like, it was like you can't discriminate based on like these things. And like, so what would this have been effectively overriding that, I would imagine that civil rights would still like kind of override that at the end of the day. But there are some specific instances where it wouldn't really apply. Like in terms of if you balance out all those different like amendments and shit, right? You have freedom of religion and all this other stuff, whatever. It's like, but you can have a private school where obviously you're going to be discriminating about like whether they're like actually Catholic or not, or Jewish or not. Like if that's the type of school it is, it's like I don't think just anybody can go there. I think the schools are allowed to make those kind of decisions. So like I don't know if she's talking about them just like creating some school to keep black people out, but I mean like yes, like private schools are allowed to discriminate. Like yeah, they've always been allowed to do. Like they have like a special thing. Like they can't just discriminate on the basis of race, I don't think. But in every other way, yeah.
This is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not going to put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true.
I don't disagree with her. So, I mean, I can't, like, she's making a good argument. Like, just because it's not written down, like, that's exactly what I said. Like, doesn't mean it's not a thing.
Obviously not going to put on the books, but when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was
obviously,
the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like if so that's a difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems.
He
He understood America to be a place of morality. This America?
I mean, I can't really like say that's a systemic problem. That's
okay.
definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else.
But
when
if
it came
the
down
system
to
that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic.
Well,
because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying like, okay, if police are going to act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across.
Wait, how did she get to talking about Black Lives Matter? I just think it's funny. Like, how do we get to Black Lives Matter from that?
All people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about, and that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. That's not me making that up. Like, that is actual.
So what? Like, that's a different story. You have to actually, that's the part of the argument you have to prove that it's like racism in order for that to mean anything. Because like just because there's a lot of Black people in prison doesn't mean it's because of racism. You have to actually demonstrate in some way, have some kind of evidence for why. That's all I'm saying.
Data.
Right,
So
pause.
systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your
Thank
seat.
you.
Thank you.
Systemic is real. I kind of like that ending. Like, I mean, because she's right. It's there. It doesn't have to be written down for it to be there, but you do have to have like some kind of evidence of it. You can't just say it.
All right, how you doing, Amanda?
I love this whole like you got to be like the thirstiest one to actually get a chance to sit down and talk. They really make them fight over the chair.
Ryan,
Ryan, nice
nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. All right, well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country,
Okay.
right? You know, we've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these.
So he basically just conceded. Because that's all the claim is.
different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay, I would say that.
I mean, sure. I guess it depends on how you look at it. Some people would think there's more of it than others. So if you say like you don't think it's so bad that it can stop us from being successful, I mean, first of all, we need to know what you mean by successful. I don't like where this is going.
It's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that is going to be harmful to us, like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that is.
I feel like I don't have a problem with him saying that. I just feel like he has to provide some kind of evidence for it. Like he's just making more and more claims that require like evidence. He's saying I don't think. Like, well, why don't you think?
It's in a way it's racism against other races outside of blacks. And so
where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I look at different clips from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically my point is I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side in that there's different things that are pushing black people up in ways that are not fair and different things like that.
So he's arguing reverse racism. He's basically saying the same thing the other guy said earlier on the other part where what did he say? If anything, the systems are being racist against white people now. That's basically what he's arguing.
Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based, and where we're in,
Yeah, and he wants a merit-based system, meritocracy. Yeah.
When there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so I think that let's say that there are ways right now.
This is a basic conservative talking point. He's not doing a bad job with it, though. I just don't think it fits here.
Now we're
like he already conceded the point, so there's basically nothing to debate about at this point.
Systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, today in modern times where
like he's saying, like, yeah, it's real, it exists, but it's not holding us back that much. In fact, we're doing it to other people now.
Black Americans can, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all opportunities.
Are you sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have
and
the
again,
same support?
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. I personally don't disagree with him.
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I
do you have the same community support?
I have excellent community support.
That's
Absolutely.
lucky for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grew up in very needy situations, right? They may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful. You can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Would you say that low income white people and low income black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then. So ultimately, we know that our low income communities are not given.
Wait. I just need to confirm what you just said.
Have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then. So
is he so she's countering him saying that black and white people have the same ability to excel? I mean, I know she's arguing for like systematic racism, but like I just feels like it's kind of a crazy claim to try to argue against.
Ultimately, we know that our low income,
especially if you're supposed to be the pro-black one. But I mean, this is what they do. So I mean,
communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality. Okay, we know that low income communities in general.
He said they don't even have the same air quality. I mean, it affects you, but does it? How much does that affect your ability to excel?
Are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists.
Okay, but even if they're more policed, it's like if you're not doing shit, a bunch of policing doesn't fucking mean anything. Like, you gotta really tell us what you mean by over policing. Like, she never did that. Like what kind of over policing are you talking about? What, every little squabble is a cop is showing up to get in the middle of it or something, and somebody walks off arrested? Like, is that what she's talking about, or is she just talking about like there being more cops there because there's more shit that happens there? It's not really. I don't think they're usually there because it's a peaceful neighborhood that they just want to fuck up the black people in. Like, I know there's racist cops, but like I don't think it's I don't think they're really dishing it out like that.
Exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people. Okay. So let's start there. When we talk about
Sure.
low income, like the working class black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered.
She said black people were never even considered, whether they were slaves or not. They were never considered. Is that what she said? Like, did she really just say that? Did I hear her correctly? I mean, they definitely considered us enough to make like our presence worth like 3/5 of a vote. I mean, they considered us a lot, quite a lot. If you look at some of those, laws. I mean,
and we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone moving forward. When we talk about
okay, but that's where you get into it not actually being like systematic and more of like an individual thing. Which is what he was saying earlier. Like he thought it was more of like personal vendettas, which I mean, like it could be. I doubt that that's really what it is, but like it's still technically a valid argument.
DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States as a long history of something. We have a short history, all right? For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole.
We do. I mean, compared to like a lot of other countries, we definitely have a short history. Yeah, sure.
Humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction.
Yeah, the 3/5. Yeah, she brought up.
Black people were then subjected to the Black Clause.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. That kind of cuts against her point that we weren't like considered, though. It's like, I mean, whether we were slaves or not, we've always been considered. Maybe even too much.
Laws were specifically for black people. The black laws incarcerated black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long sentences for jaywalking. So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right? Sure. Now you're
I mean, she's not making a bad argument, no. I mean, like, she's still kind of in the middle of making it, but like what she's putting together here is, I guess, I mean, even though I don't really like when people do this, but she's right. Like, I mean, it can affect like a single generation down the line if one of your ancestors was, either a slave or arrested or something was done wrong, killed, lynched for no reason. Like, I mean, you never know.
You're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like,
but let's see here.
She's not able to parent, etc. We also
Check. Check. Oh, shit. There we go. All right. I think we're back. So, yeah, glitchy. Everything's glitchy today. I know. Sorry about that. But we're back to it.
also know that there is a continued effort in this nation.
Oh yeah, hold on. It's either Windows or NVIDIA. One of the two has just been fucking me up since that update.
To not have black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works years-long cases, years-long sentences for jaywalking.
Okay.
So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 19
I don't think we all are looking at it like, why can't we just get over that? But I get what she's saying.
1800s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have
Now she's talking about some of the she right, but I don't I know what she's talking about. I think she's like, what is it? The 1619 project or whatever. And then they do want to kind of control more like of what the curriculum is, I guess, as far as like American history is in school. So she is right, but that's always been the case though. Like they don't want nobody to know the real history of this country. They're going to create like a narrative. Every country does this, by the way. It's literally like, if you look in the history of Japan, their leaders like explicitly did this. They even created a religion. So, this is just par for the course. So like, so what? I don't know. That's not even particularly racist. It's just like, they don't want nobody to know. That's not, they might craft a particular version of history for you to hear specific things more, like that your people were slaves over and over again. But that's probably the worst that it gets in that regard. Like, they've always been controlling that. They've never wanted anybody to know the actual history of this country. They're always going to control the information. Why wouldn't they?
resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they're passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure, okay.
All right, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
All good.
That's
Yes, I don't think that supports a systematic racism argument, but she doesn't have to do much here, though. That's what I'm saying. The claim is just true.
flags.
Yeah.
Hi again. We cool now?
We good. We good. I think we're on the same.
So she back up. They made up. It's all right. It's cool. Women do this a lot.
We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist, because I've seen too
She doing the same thing she did before, but the difference is she likes what she's saying this time.
many Black people overcome. And I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability.
Like, she's not gonna get mad at her, and because she know, like, she's already agreed with her, so she already basically making half her argument for her.
And like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about.
So she's arguing like the evidence that this isn't really like either a thing or a significant impediment for us is like, look at all the people coming over here and, like, you know, killing it and actually changing their status. It's an interesting argument. She's the what would you call it? We should coin this. She's talking about the tether anomaly. Right. They try to they bring this one out when they want to show, like, well, it seems like there's only like a certain community of Black people who seem to think like this, and it might even be more of their mindset affecting this, because the people who come over here from other places that are supposedly discriminated against can go pretty far. It's not a bad argument. It's not a bad argument.
About, you know what, I gotta go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting
They are literally twerking and shaking booty.
Which is like, this is again, it's just like the way it sounds though, like even beyond like the logic and everything. It's not necessarily a bad argument. It's just that like you sound like a coon. Like, and it sounds like you blaming everybody but the people that she is gonna say is mostly responsible for this. Even though I kind of agree with the other girl, what she's saying. I don't think it's all that. I don't like the way she just kind of went over the top with it just now. It was kind of wild.
The Nigerians I know ain't doing it. If they are
We
from
literally
Chick-fil-A,
learned it from Africa.
their doctors twerking and
We
shaking.
literally
So
have
maybe
it
they
from
can shake
Africa.
because they
Yeah, we did get we did literally get the booty shaking from Africa. Like if that's what she's talking, like I mean, you can call it twerking or not, but like yeah, I mean, so to say that they not doing that is just like
they got the money to back it up. But do you see what you're saying? Do you see what I'm saying though? We have to be honest.
I do like the fact that she said that we know we literally got that from them. Like what do you mean?
Well, as a fellow daughter of an immigrant,
Okay.
right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards
Props
for
to
folks.
her.
So shout out to my mom. There's a very big difference in growing up somewhere and coming from a place where you are the majority and where your people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have
But
been
your
here.
mama came.
I mean, even if that's like the case in like I guess places in Africa, it's that's not really true for all of Africa. Like, you know, there's definitely still like oppression going on there on that continent. But I hear what she's saying.
Came here, she wasn't the majority. So how did she succeed?
She succeeded because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Her resilience, right?
No, but
And she had her
let
village.
me say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you unpack.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States. We're literally watching it happen right now with an effort to divide and conquer and have black people fighting immigrants and have black people saying that immigrants don't matter.
And
So
fighting white people.
Yeah, I mean, no, she right. She's talking about the tether shit again. Like, damn, the tether anomaly.
white people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There should be an equality.
We are becoming the new white supremacists.
We are.
We've been
We
putting them on
are.
a pedestal.
We are.
We feel like we can't
We
do
are.
anything.
No, it's not that we're putting them.
nothing,
It's not that we're
won't do
putting them on a
nothing.
pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our blackness against our people. When
How
we
are
do
we
what
doing
you're
that?
saying, we are saying I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't
But
figure it
Amanda,
out.
what about if I believe that the American dream is, I have a right to that as well? Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I
What's
want
the
a life for my
American dream?
The American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss shake. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want to have a 401k. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the black community, we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you say
Well,
that
no,
we're
it's
working
not
with
that it's
them,
whiteness. It's capitalism.
And here it comes. Here we are finally there. This is when it stops being about black people and when it starts being about politics.
And I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
but
So
we're sitting here benefiting.
Like, see how she just switched to capitalism? Like, we ain't even talking about, oh no, it's not to do with racism. This is about capitalism. Wow. Y'all are just talking about systematic racism. So is she saying that they're the same thing? Or what?
Benefiting from capitalism, and you know that because you would.
I understand that we are benefiting. I understand that we are benefiting from capitalism, but I also understand that we would have other people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a black radical. It's to understand that I can benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we know that capitalism benefits us, and
Yeah. Okay.
people are
My
coming here
solution
every
is what I
day.
continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities, across classes.
And that includes
We need
collaborating
to-
with white people.
I've never said it didn't.
But I
this
thought that was
obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we live
who
in
do not-
America,
Let me finish
Amanda.
my point.
Go
There are
ahead.
people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider that to be the
That is true.
naming the most important element of their identity because they understand that at the end of the
Depending on what you mean by like, but I mean, she's right. If like this whole white supremacy thing is just like
day, we need to
like you got to tell us what you mean by it. But like if we're just taking like the broadest, like I just assume like the broadest definition she could have for it. And yeah, there are people that are gonna benefit from it that might not even consider themselves white. White people might not even consider them white.
see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist.
Exactly.
We
I
all
agree.
deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And that is what capitalism does.
You have to earn it. That's what
That
I'm
is
saying.
what
Like,
this
I don't
nation
feel that
is.
way.
You do have to earn it.
You
You
do
do.
have to
Yes,
earn
you
it.
do.
You're
That
in
is why we are
America, man.
criminalizing the poor. We are criminalizing the poor on a regular basis.
How so?
How so? Because we're not even allowing for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing inflation grow.
We're not even allowing for a wage to happen to get people out of poverty? Is that a wage to happen?
We both have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
No, we have not had people that are done it. My mother came to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because my mother
was pregnant
So wait, so she's a teller?
at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
good
it
for your
herself.
mom,
What
but
I'm
this is the
saying.
thing.
So we can't
Your
do
mom
it.
it's not, the question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, man, but you know we live.
Yeah, but that's true across all cultures. Like, that's the thing. You can't just say like, oh, well, it's different for black people and white people. It's like, it's different for basically everybody, yeah.
Live in
It's
a
not
broken
a matter
society. If I went to
well, then
Nigeria
that's
and
what
they're
we're
having the same
talking
problems
about.
as the
But
ones
that's
we're
what
talking
we're
about
talking
in
about. It's a broken
Nigeria.
society.
But and it's the same thing in
But
Nigeria.
Nigeria is a broken society, whereas Burkina Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
My final claim is black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class. Ant dog. Okay, talk to me.
So I think black conservatives, we're the ones who really want the best for working people.
Oh.
I think we're the ones, like a lot of the liberals, a lot of the leftists, they want to do things like office work. They want us to go reparations.
So now that claim is over, black conservatism fails to address the needs of the working class. I guess it depends on what she means by black conservatism. But generally speaking, I don't really disagree with what she's saying. Like, if by black conservatism we mean like whatever the black Republicans are doing, that's probably true. I think it depends though on who you're really talking about, because there are some doing a good job. It's just like if you're working with like a party that's kind of failing to really build upon any of your ideas, or really, I don't know, it's kind of tough. But I think like conservatism in general does address the needs. Like, what do you even mean by address the needs of the working class? That's kind of vague. But no, I think conservative policies actually probably address them more. Just in general, whether it's black or not. Because saying black conservatism, I'm like, I don't really understand what you mean by that.
Try to get things from the government and get handouts. We say, hey, go out there and work. Go out there and get these jobs that are available. Work with your hands, do skilled trades. That's where a lot of us talk about, skilled trades. So working class, that's really a black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree.
I really hate his voice or just his speech pattern. I don't know what it is. I gotta listen to that again. It's hard for me to listen to him. Like, I don't know why. It's just hard for me to listen to him.
Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
My final claim is black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class.
So fails to meet the needs.
Ant dog. Okay, talk to me.
Fails to address the needs of the working class.
So I think black conservatives, we're the ones who really want the best for working people.
Oh.
I think we're the ones, like a lot of
that's great. You can want the best for them all you want to. But does whatever black conservatism, I'm assuming like just your conservative policy or whatever address the needs of the working class, like that's what the real question is here, not whether you want the best for them or not. I'm sure the Democrats would say the same thing. Are you able to achieve it? Does your ideology, does your policy actually lend credence to the idea that you're able to achieve the goal?
A lot of the liberals, a lot of the leftists, they want us to do things like office work. They want us to go reparations, try to get things from the government and get handouts. We say, hey, go out there and work. Go out there and get these jobs that are available. Work with your hands, do skilled trades. That's where a lot of us talk about, skilled trades. So working class, that's really a black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree.
I actually agree with what he said there, at least as far as like the truth of the claim. Like, yeah, I think the black conservatives are probably more centered toward the working class and just conservatives in general, right? That's why I said, like, I think conservatism in general does kind of address the needs of the working class a little bit better. That's just that would be like my own personal opinion, though. That's just my opinion on the prompt itself. She has to defend the idea that it doesn't address the needs of the working class. So I'm interested in her argument more than his, really. Because I technically agree with him.
I think that that would be true if Black conservatism also created pathways for people to get those jobs and also to be
I'll still be being fair in like the evidence that they both present for their claims, though.
Able to challenge the corporations that are using their labor, that are stealing from them and not impeding them from having a union. So for instance, like in the South, right? I just left North Carolina where I met with the USSW, the Union of Southern Service Workers. This is an unofficial union of individuals who work at places like Waffle House, at Food Lion, etc. And their unofficial union is unofficial because the conservatives in that state will not allow for them to be official.
Okay. What's wrong with being an unofficial union, though?
Legitimized.
Legitimized.
There you go. I got you.
It will not allow for them to be legitimized because then they would be able to push back legitimately on the corporations to get fair wages, right? So like someone was telling me in this organization that she was in Baltimore getting $15.25 as a minimum wage. And then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25 for minimum wage, but the cost of living was the same for her. So when we talk about, you know, the effort of saying go out and get these jobs and get these.
So I'm assuming this is what she means by like not meeting the needs of the working class. So she's one of the people that thinks, I guess, that the working class needs unions. And maybe, I guess, I think that you could make the argument for it, or that it's at least a good idea. I needs very strong because, like I said, it like assumes necessity, like that you actually can't live without it. And I think that the working class can definitely live without unions. Especially like official unions, if she's only worried about it being an official union. It's like, what's wrong with it being an unofficial union? If the conservative policies allow for them to even have an unofficial union, then what is really the problem? She wants this like governmental status. And sure, it might be preferable to be an official union. But again, like, I don't think this is something that's even like a necessity. So if this is what her argument is, and her evidence for it is that, you know, well, they need unions, and conservatives are stopping them from using or from creating like actual unions like Democrats allow them to, or liberals, whatever. I just don't, I don't think this really supports the argument at all. Like, that's not a necessity. Do you have something else, some other need that the working class really has that is being deprived of them, or that, you know, conservatism fails to address, even in theory?
These trades, etc.
Because I thought she was gonna make like I thought she was gonna make an intellectual argument about just the philosophy of conservatism not really offering enough to really even inspire the kind of policy that we need. Like, and maybe she kind of is, but I don't think she's doing a good job of trying to point that out. She's kind of just like asserting that like these more, I guess you could say, left-wing ideas of unions or centrist ideas of unions, whatever, like wherever you think it lies, the idea of unions is a necessity for the working class, and that this is evidence of, you know, conservatism actually getting rid. And to be honest with you, even if they are doing that, that doesn't mean that conservatism, or even black conservatism, whatever that means specifically, fails to address their needs. That just means that in this one place, they're doing that, regardless of whether it's a need or not. That's just happening in like one place. Because I'm assuming when she says black conservatism, she's actually talking about like the philosophy or whatever of these black conservatives.
I think that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of.
I've been trying to hold it, but I gotta use the bathroom. I will be right back, people. Don't go nowhere.
Corporations to keep billionaires. As black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
Okay, I understand your point, but a lot of us are more about being
And we are back. Double time. Let's see. Can go back here a little bit.
The minimum wage, and then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25. When we talk about, you know, the effort of saying go out and get these jobs and get these trades, et cetera, I think that that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as Black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
Okay, I understand your point, but a lot of us are more about being self-sufficient.
Wait.
Mechanic, working on your car, working on your house, doing things with your hands. So you don't got to worry about corporations. You could be your own man. You could be your own woman. And also, didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you
No,
for them
I
now?
never said that.
Oh, so you're for unions?
Absolutely.
So when the unions keep Black folks out,
Hold on. Wait
When we talk about, you know, the effort of saying go out and get these jobs and get these trades, et cetera, I think that that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as Black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
okay, I understand your point.
So she's saying by making corporations bigger, this is what I want to make sure. She's saying by making these corporations bigger and more powerful, we're actually limiting the ability of these other people. I guess, because in terms of competition, like the bigger you make a company, I mean, you are kind of strengthening, like, I guess, any particular smaller business that might be trying to start out's ability to compete. But I don't know, like, I feel like the left wing kind of does this themselves or whatever. Like, I don't even know I don't think she's ever said like what her actual political stance here is. I'm just like basically just assume she's a leftist. She says she's not a liberal, but she seems to have a problem with Black conservatism apparently. So I'm gonna assume she's not a conservative. So when she says radical, I assume she's like a left radical. And yeah, a lot of their policies they tend to prop up corporations as well. I don't know if she's talking about like the less taxes, if she's that type of person, or more taxes for rich people, that type of person, then I guess theoretically, sure, hers could be considered better. But if you think about the actual effects of those kind of policies, I think it would end up hurting the working class more than helping. I think the best way to help the working class is to kind of put in policy, kind of like how if the conservatives are giving tax cuts to rich people and poor people, or big businesses and small businesses when they're in office, and Black people, or sorry, Democrats are just taxing rich people more and like creating more programs for other people, then like I would probably just pick the conservatives at the end of the day. Like, you know, I mean, or the Republicans, whatever. Like, some people think they're interchangeable. But that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about those kind of policies anyway. Like, those are the parties that would be implementing this stuff.
Point, but a lot of us are more about being self-sufficient. So the South, a friend of mine down there, King Randall, has a school for boys. He's 22 years old. He has a bunch of kids living with him. He's teaching them physical skills they can do. Okay,
Yeah.
being a mechanic, working on your car, working on your house, doing things with your hands. So you don't got to
Right. Shout out to King Randall.
worry about corporations. You could be your own man. You could be your own woman. And also, didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you
No,
for them
I
now?
never said that.
Oh, so you're for unions?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't obviously she's for unions. I don't think she ever said anything about being against unions.
So when the unions keep Black folks out, you're for that as well? Because that's traditionally
Which is another reason I just assume she's obviously like probably mostly on the left.
what they've done, keep Black folks out, correct?
Obviously, I am not for that. The reality is that unions have definitely in the beginning kept Black folks out. And the reason why they were keeping Black folks out
Yeah.
is because after the Civil War, when there was Reconstruction, you had all these Black people that had been used with free labor and they had skills, right? Whether they were a blacksmith or a carpenter or whatever. However, they could not get jobs because the white people who now had to fend for themselves, if you will, because they didn't have slaves, they had to go and learn all these trades.
Right.
And so they actively kept Black
Yeah, this is a thing that happened.
people out of those jobs. And then what they would do is that when they would, as a union, say, we're going on strike, the black people would be like, well, we'll work, because they won't let us in their union anyway. And then when they would go and actually get those jobs that the people were on strike for, they would hang them. They would lynch them. So yes.
Yeah, as far as I know, fact check true.
These are real things that have taken place. But we keep having these conversations where we acknowledge the past when it's convenient, and then we only say in the present when it's convenient. So you can't simultaneously say, well,
she's kind of cooking.
everybody's fine now and there's no systemic racism, at the same time as stating that there are unions that are racist and unions that aren't racist. Ultimately, there is racism in the United States. It is deeply embedded. We have seen it in a myriad of examples, even just yesterday or today. And black conservatives are working against the working class because they are actively placing their vision, their ideology of black excellence in economics solely.
Well, there is racism
and in individual economics. And I think that's really the big difference.
I don't agree with her.
Of what we're talking about right now. You're talking about every man for themselves. Every man for themselves.
No, I don't say that.
Oh, you say.
But if that is true, that's the problem. She's kind of just restating her claim. She's not really supporting the claim with any real evidence.
I say that we have to be individual as people, as black people, but still get all of us on the same page. My friend's at school, he's not just looking out for himself, looking for all these kids as well. So it's like, okay, I bring myself up and then bring everybody else up rather than relying upon the corporations and white people to lift this up. That's where we come from.
So I think there's a difference between relying on and acknowledging that there are impediments of. And I want to acknowledge the reality that we keep seeming to bump up against, which is that everybody has equal ability, and they don't. Everybody doesn't have the same impediments. So, for instance, I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Me too.
I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Yeah, not everybody has equal ability. If this is the argument she's making, this is actually typically a conservative argument. Like people aren't just like equal. Like they don't have the same ability to do things. But I don't think it really necessarily has. I mean, I guess you could say impediments. I feel like that's just a weird way of looking at it. It's just, I mean, not everybody has the same skills, right? Doesn't have, they could, let's just say they have equal impediments. They could still just have different levels of skill. And if you're referring to just their level of skill being lower in some areas as an impediment, it's like, well, it actually depends on how much you need to succeed. Because if we're talking about like it limiting like your ability to be successful, it's like, well, just because you might have less skill in sales than somebody, for example, doesn't mean you don't have enough skill yourself to be successful. And they could have even more skill in another area that you're not even interested in. So I mean technically speaking, it only takes like, one thing, one real like, passion, skill to really make it to be successful. It might be more complicated depending on what you go into, but I don't think it's fair to really look at it in terms of like it's an impediment or not. I feel like it's more like, is it within your wheelhouse or not? Are you willing to do the hard work that it takes to be successful in whatever this is? I mean, it depends on goals and things like that too. What you're willing to sacrifice. Are you gonna sacrifice your dream and just, go be a normal worker? Are you gonna go follow your dream? And there's risk that comes with trying to follow your dreams. Like it's I don't think it's just as simple as like, oh well, people aren't equal because they have different impediments. It's like, yeah, sure they're gonna have different impediments in life, but like it's a little bit more than that.
My father was some deadbeat that didn't have. My father has a MD from Harvard. My father has an MBA from Tufts.
My dad was a firefighter, so working class, conservative.
He just didn't want to be a parent. So when we talk about this whole idea of like,
yeah, like I don't like looking at just like, I mean, sure, there are gonna be negative effects to everything, and there might be more for some things than others, but like looking at just like the reality of things as an impediment, I feel like this is kind of bitch made. Like I'm not gonna lie, like you just like, oh my God, like the road is blocked today. This impediment is just like other people don't have this impediment right now. It's like, get the fuck over it. Like shit is different for everybody because we are in different places. We have different backgrounds. All that's just reality. That's just how life is. But looking at it as an impediment inherently, just because it might have some negative effects, that's kind of crazy. I mean, because you're kind of limiting yourself before you really even get to it. Like you're underestimating people as far as I'm concerned.
oh, the blacks that are, not doing the thing. It's not about necessarily what class you're in. It's literally just about, we live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't want to be a parent. We live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't need to be in cooperation with our community. And as far as I'm concerned, Black conservatives do not address the needs of the working class, which are fair.
Wait. What does that have to do with them meeting the needs of the working class?
Fair access to resources, which are equal access to getting jobs, which are equal pay to the same access as others. And we don't.
Equal to who?
Equal to other states even. Like, there's no reality where you can.
Equal pay? Is that a need of the working class?
Say that the same amount of white people are working low-wage jobs per capita as Black people. A lot of the reason is because there's such a disparate incarceration of Black people that it impedes their ability to get higher level education as well as higher level employment, because we know about disenfranchisement.
All right, there you go.
I don't like the way that ended. Like, I don't understand her. Like, I don't think she's doing a good job of supporting this point. Like the things she's kind of acting like our needs for the working class don't even seem to be like things that the working class needs. Or at least she can't really tell us why. She just says that, like, oh, well, if they can't provide them these things, then they don't seem to be able to meet their needs. But, like, yeah, you have to demonstrate that these are even needs. You can't just assert that things are like a need for a class of people. That's like saying, like, everybody needs to drink juice. And people are like, well, it seems that, like, the only thing we really need to drink is, like, water. You can't just say, oh, well, you should really be drinking more juice and not provide any evidence why, right? There might be an argument for that. Like, if you're going to use the juice thing, right? Like, I mean, like, fruit juice might have more beneficial things in it.
Hi.
But you gotta at least say that. So now this
Nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to meet
Layla.
you.
I would actually argue that the Black working class is
little thing that sat down. She kind of cute.
failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that
Who is this girl? Sorry, let me not get distracted.
in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system at a job, wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race?
Remember to follow, share, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, Send in some gifted subs or something.
Or identity?
I've never argued that. I've never argued that.
Well,
That's not
I
the
know that
case.
you were saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying that there should be
So, got distracted there for a second. Let's start this one over.
I would actually argue that the Black working class is failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that
So in response to the claim, Black conservatism fails to address the needs of the working class, you say the Black working class is failing themselves. What? As far as I'm concerned, this is not even addressing her argument.
in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system at a job, wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race or identity?
I've never argued that. I've never argued.
Yeah, like, this is not. Thank you. She's realized, she's like, what the fuck are we talking about right? She's like, that's not what we're talking about right now.
Well, I know that you were saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying that there should be Black Americans in education systems, in jobs, but wouldn't you argue that they should be qualified for those positions and not just placed there because of their skin color?
I've never disapproved that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's
That's
say
not what DEI is. Do
okay,
you know that?
Well, I'm not talking about DEI right now. Well,
Because you're suggesting that I suggest.
she knew what she was talking about. She knew what she was talking about, though. She knew she was talking about the DEI shit. So there might be some truth there.
That somebody should get a job just because they're Black. And I've never asserted anything like that.
I mean, I understand that you may not say that exactly, but a lot
I
of the
didn't say
claims
that at
are,
all.
they're pointing to that.
You shouldn't even have told her you knew what she was talking about, because this is technically off topic.
No, it's not pointing
so-
to that.
okay.
And so that is that. I need to clear this up because it's a really important point.
Okay.
We live in a nation that has actively pedestaled white people. Can we all agree on
Now she got to clear something up. Now, I don't agree with the claim she just made.
On that we
in the past, in the past, but not currently, but not currently.
So,
In the past, but not current. I mean, yeah. Did it really change? Like,
okay, fair. Okay, so how many black people are part of this administration's cabinet?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you fill me in?
Zero.
she granted it. Okay, cool.
Who?
So it seems like there may be a
That's
couple.
not a cabinet.
I don't know.
Scott Turner.
Okay.
Okay.
So
we got two.
So there are.
So we got two.
Can
we
we
got
also,
two. We got two. So back to your point. DEI is about expanding.
Oh yes. Okay.
Not lowering credibility.
Okay.
So if we have a system that has very actively said these particular people are the best people simply because of their race, DEI said, or their gender.
Okay.
Because DEI mostly leveled up white women.
Okay. So it would be incorrect if.
Okay, I mean, she's right about that, but like, she was just clearing up what DEI meant. That's why I didn't really say anything there. I mean, because this is technically has nothing to do with the claim.
If it's, if we're pointing toward this, a majority of race is qualified because of the skin, the basic
Absolutely,
skin.
yeah. Whether they're white, black.
Not, I mean, unless she's arguing DEI is a negative for the working class, but then that still wouldn't refute her claim that black conservatism fails to address the needs of the working class. Like, even if you argue, well, we wouldn't do what the people are doing with DEI. I was like, okay, but what are you going to do to actually meet their needs? Like, how can you say that you actually can meet their needs? Which is also like black conservatism. Again, like, how does black conservatism address the needs of the working class itself? Like, the philosophy, it's kind of self-evident. That's what the ABL guy was saying. Like, they just focus on that kind of stuff. It's more like self-reliance and things. And that is something that the working class likes for the most part, trades, things like that. There are those. Yeah, he's right about that. But at the end of the day, you got to show like how those things, like you got to make an argument as to how those things are meeting the needs of the working class. First of all, somebody needs to say what the actual needs of the working class are. She never laid out what these supposed needs are. She just keeps hinting to certain things that she thinks they need, that the Republicans don't account for or don't support. But the Republicans aren't doing a good job of like laying out what the actual needs of the working class are and how their policies would help them achieve them. They're just kind of, I mean, I know they don't have a lot of time to do that, but like they gotta at least know what kind of argument they should be making. ABL was onto something, but like he didn't. I hate the way his ended.
Black.
But they keep voting him off.
I mean, race is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier that you would argue that.
And she said race is fake. I mean, technically.
Black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had,
First of all, you're a light-skinned woman.
And so are you.
Yes.
And you're doing great.
Light skin versus light skin?
Colorism. Yes, and so colorism really does serve us.
But I do want to say, why do you think that?
Damn. Shout out to my light skinned sister. Looking out for us dark skinned folks. Colorism. Tell her how it is, sis. We light skinned, okay?
That is though. Why do you think that? Do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's based off of
Hold up. The fuck?
the reputation that black people
The hell just happened here? Oh, we got another glitch. Uh-oh. Let's see here. Bear with me, y'all.
people make for themselves.
All right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. We'll get it all figured out once we wrap this up, and then hopefully, motherfuckers will stop updating shit at least for enough time for me to figure out what the problem is. The more variables you throw in, it's like goddamn, I gotta isolate one of these.
What reputation are black people making for
What
themselves?
would you argue? Because I mean, when I look at
who makes
well,
the
let's
reputation for black
let's look
people?
at music, for example.
What? Hold on.
Yeah, whether they're white, black. I mean, race is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier, that you would argue that, you know, black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had, you know,
First of all,
a
you're a
problem.
light-skinned woman.
And so are you.
Yes.
And you're doing
so
great.
He said, first of all, we light skin.
Yourself.
Yes, and so colorism really does serve us.
But I do want to say, why do you think that is, though? Why do you think that? Do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's based off of the reputation that black people make for themselves?
What reputation are black people making for
What
themselves?
would you
Yeah, that's a good question in response to what she's saying.
argue? Because I mean, when I look at
who makes the
let's
reputation for black
look
people?
at music, for example.
We already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna.
Why do you always go to rap music? Why do you always do this, bro? You know we do more than just rap music, right? God damn, dude.
Have it again. Most of the people that.
Oh, are we?
Most of the people.
I'm going to shut it down right now and let you know that the reality is that when you come to black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with black
Most
people
of-
because you haven't heard of all of black music.
Most of the music that is, let's say.
That's facts, but like she should have just pointed out the fact that, like, you know, we basically started every music genre, right?
Maybe exalted or shown by
And
the
who
media,
controls-
right?
and who controls those systems?
It defiles
And
black
who
Americans.
controls
But
those
who's putting it
systems?
out there?
Who
We
contro-
are. Black
No,
people. We're the ones
actually,
putting
the
it out there.
distribution systems that are putting them out there
And
are owned by
who
white people.
listens? Who listens to them? Because
I don't know.
Who listen? White people listen. What is she trying to say right now? I hate this argument.
Bet you, most of my friends, my black friends that are not conservative, they listen to that music that defiles
You know who
their
else-
bodies.
you know
that
who
talks
else
about
listens to that
black on
music?
black crime, and that it's a
Everybody
good
else.
Oh my God.
But if
Am
we
I
don't
right?
acknowledge that they are not in the same way pursuing white voices talking about the same thing, even though they are, we simply like
Okay.
to start at the branches of a tree and not at the root. We have to understand that the media is king. Okay, media is king.
And media does not favor conservatism. I can tell you that right now. I mean, look at the protests right now in Los Angeles.
Depending on who is in office.
And I mean, honestly, let's not act like other music isn't full of debauchery and violence and anger. Like, even though we know that's not all of hip hop, that might be what's played on the radio and shit. It's like, it's kind of the same thing for every other genre too. They get down like that in R&B. Especially even the old school show tunes. You'd be surprised how graphic they used to be in some of those old school show tunes. Jazz, they can get kind of graphic. They might be a little bit more metaphorical, especially compared to some of these like new age rappers and whatnot. They don't know how to write a metaphor or nothing. They just be straight up telling you about the vulgar stuff they be doing. It's like, you gotta at least paint a picture for me, nigga. Damn. But no, I mean, I have to fundamentally disagree with what she's saying. And she just kind of like leaning on like the implication of it.
This media does favor them.
I mean, we have Trump in office.
And when I say that, I mean like she's just leaning on like what people will automatically think and try to associate with black people rather than actually thinking about it. And she's not even like bothering to provide any like, you know, specific artist type of music, the amount of their listeners that are black or whatever. She's just acting like it's almost only black people that listen to this music when it's like, you know, the majority of the people listening to this shit are white people. That's why these motherfuckers are able to sell the way they do. It's like some of these people be selling more records than there are even black people in the country.
Office right now, and media is not favoring Trump at all.
Media is absolutely not favoring Trump
Okay,
in certain
thank you.
spaces because Trump is also not favoring that particular type of media. But it depends on the day. And we have to acknowledge that regardless of whether you talk conservatism or not, media has never favored black people at any point.
All right, guys, that's time. You've been voted out.
Media has never favored black people at any point. I understand what she's saying on like a real life level. I guess there could be some positives you could find, but I think on the whole it hasn't like no. But I also don't think like that has nothing to do with the claim. So like I mean, Shawty's cute, I guess. You know, she kind of cute. But I don't like her argument at all. Any of her arguments, like, no. And she kind of just packed her up.
Thank you. At any point.
I guess that's why they voted her off, because like I don't think anybody was really feeling her line of argumentation there. She just went straight to hip hop.
Back. So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications.
The same niggas keep getting up, for real, for real.
Of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So, for example, we have the National College Attainment Network, which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious...
Bro, what the fuck does this have to do with the claim?
admissions was out of it. Black enrollment dropped 64% at UC Berkeley. And that is an active systemic racism. Trying to look at people's races and allow them to colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism. And it's race conscious. And Martin Luther King's most famous quote is that he doesn't want his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character.
And so what? Like, you can see her getting exhausted. Like, I'm just like, bro, I'm tired too, bro. Are y'all making me defend her? I don't even know who the fuck she is. I know damn well I don't agree with a lot of what she probably thinks, but like, y'all making me defend her. Like, we both sighing at you niggas. Like, Jesus Christ.
And the content of people's characters also includes merit. We have another example of systemic racism. Burgess Owens, he's a representative out of Utah. He's a black Republican representative. He called out the MIT president for having black-only dormitories. I mean, what does that mean? Why are we trying to segregate each other and say that black people feel safer amongst black people? And the truth is, they're actually more in danger when they're around.
Oh my God, bro. First of all, yes, we do. That actually doesn't have any bearing on whether or not we're more in danger of being killed by someone that looks like us or someone's in our family. That doesn't change the fact that we're more comfortable with them. In fact, that would make it so that the claim is true. Like, if you are more comfortable when you're around someone, you're probably letting down your guard, which means you're inherently already going to be more in danger when you're around someone that you're comfortable being around. For whatever reason, you are comfortable being around them.
Around black people. And that's unfortunate. It's sad that I'm saying this, but it's the case. And I have to say it because it's true. Okay.
It's not true. He should just shut the fuck up right now. I'm sorry. They should start voting this nigga down now immediately. This is like, he just went supreme coon.
Black people are killing each other at a vast, crazy rate. Black men rapping about it. It's savagery. It's barbaric. And we shouldn't be doing it.
This is like Super Saiyan coon.
As a people, we should try to get more Ben Carsons. Ben Carson's cousins were murdered when he was younger, but his mother came to
We need more Ben Carsons.
him and gave him a book and told Ben Carson.
We don't need more Ben. I mean, sure. More brain surgeons? Sure. I think pretty sure that's who Ben Carson is, right? Sure, more brain surgeons? Sure. I don't know if we necessarily need more Ben Carsons, though. That's crazy.
To read and study so to not be like his cousins. And Ben Carson separated 2 twins at the back of the head, and he's known as one of the best neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen, right?
Ben Carson said that slave.
Is he a neurologist or a brain surgeon or both?
Were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and we know that to be a fact.
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that.
Wait a minute. I just realized what she said. What is the difference between being an immigrant and being a stolen person? Like, I mean, a stolen person is a kidnapped person. Like, and I don't think a bunch of niggas were like just kidnapped off the coast of Africa. I don't think that's what happened. So first of all, like, I don't like this term stolen people. It sounds crazy, but like, I get what she's asking. It's just the way she asked it is just like,
Many people were stolen here, but 90% of historians agree that slavery would have not been possible if black slave owners within Africa didn't sell off their people. White people didn't show up and just.
Yeah, sure. Of course you know that talking point. I'm not surprised he knows that talking point. He's right, but like it's kind of just a talking point in this, like, so like, but he's right. Like, that's why I said, like, I don't think a bunch of niggas were just stolen off the coast of Africa. Like, at least not. That's not all of the slaves.
Just start stealing people. They didn't do that. That's not how that works.
They literally did that.
But they didn't. They worked with black owners.
They did do that, but That's not all they did though. Like that's I don't even think that's where the majority of them came from. Like how many niggas you just find that are not fighting back and you just pick them up off the coast, put them in chains and take them back without having to kill them? Like
they literally did that, and Arabs did that as well. And I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of Black people in Africa.
They had help doing it too. That's the other part. He should have said that. Like sometimes they literally got help from like besides the people like necessarily selling them, they were getting help from people to like find them too.
There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, Black people did not consider themselves Black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors to legitimize.
I mean she's right, but I don't really believe like. It's not even that I don't believe it. It's just like we kind of have record of them referring to themselves as like the Black people. In one way or another.
Slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th
to
century. They
legitimize,
were the first ones.
They did not name it under Blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was passed a few months ago that said.
Wait, did she just link slavery to eugenics?
That Donald Trump wants to now.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't do that, but I don't like the way. If she did do that, I don't like the way she did.
Control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct. And he stated that that is an incorrect expression of race.
So he said race is biological. I mean, technically it is. I think the problem is when you say it's a social construct, what do you mean? Because it's like every word is technically a social construct, right? But if the word is referring to something that's like observable, identifiable, and one of those things is biology and it's based in biology, there might be something to it. I mean, there's definitely some biological differences between like white and Black people. Now, if we're saying that there are more races than white and Black people, or it's hard to actually distinguish them as a race, then that's a different story. But I'm assuming that's what she's saying, though.
That race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences, the hair texture. It's a biological.
I mean, so this nigga's like, man, of course it's fucking biological, bitch.
Oh, baby.
Sure, there's a social concept, but there's biological differences.
Sir,
he said, like, yeah, sure. Look, I ain't gonna lie. This is the first time little nigga is cooking, like, because she really did just shout out. Like, I think from her perspective, arguing that it's a biological thing would be smarter. And the thing is, if she's really a radical, you could argue it either way. I just think, like, as a radical, it'd probably be a more radical thing to say, especially on the left. If you're really claiming to be a radical on the left, to acknowledge that race has a biological factor and may even be largely biological. But I mean, hey, some people don't want to admit that. Some people, like, as far as they're concerned, the definition of race as it is or whatever, it can't be changed or made to actually fit anything. So it's just a social construct as far as they're concerned. That doesn't stop them from using it, though. They're just going to tell you it's a social construct and that it's not even really real. And that if you assert that it's a biological thing, then you're racist. But then there's a thing that's like, well, maybe I don't care.
You're very convicted in your lack of information around these things. Race and ethnicity.
Damn. She be throwing all kinds of shade, bro.
Are two different things, okay? Ethnicity is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something.
Well, race wasn't just created for humans, I don't even think. Like, I have to look, but I mean, I think race is actually a scientific term that applies to more than just human beings. as far as I remember, but it might only be like a human being thing. We typically use words like species and things like that or whatever. But I think within the species there can be like different races or whatever. So I think race is actually a scientific term at the same time, which is why it's kind of like saying it's not biological. And it's like we're talking about in terms of humans. It's like, well, are you just like trying to avoid looking at humans that way, or is that actually true?
That you are. Race is something that was bestowed and put
That's
upon you.
That's racism, not race. Race is
No,
simply the
race is
aggregation.
literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American studies from the Institute for Research in African
Was like, so our differences were created and put upon us? Because the people that argue race realism don't argue that like race is like just purely this social construct. They believe that it's actually something that we observe and we just put a name on it. And the name itself is a social construct, but the concept itself isn't.
American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to understand very clearly.
Or I guess you could say that the name is the concept technically or whatever, but like the concept is just being given like words. It's something that we can see and observe.
Race is not something that is biological. There is literally
Look at us.
no.
Look at the
there is
differences.
there is many differences that are equated to ours that
And
has
they're
nothing
not
to do.
I need them to give me like a definition of race if that's what she's really arguing right now. Like we gotta. They don't give them enough time to really get into like stuff like this when they have like tangents like this. But this is actually an interesting tangent. It does not really address the claim here at all. But this is an interesting tangent. I like this tangent because she was doing so great until she got to this point. And then like I was agreeing with basically almost everything she said. Like there's a lot of stupid shit she said in between, like just like personal shit we don't agree on. But like in terms of like her arguments, she wasn't doing too much of a bad job. But now we're just like this is the first time I think she's just kind of like not acknowledging reality. But it's also not something they really need to debate about. So she's also, you could tell she's kind of triggered. And she's trying to like school him. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she's incorrect. So I'm not even sure she could ever like convince him that that's a thing. She just has her own viewpoint on it. I don't think like. I think if you're being as good faith as possible, you have to admit that race is like a real thing. Whether how it should be classified or whatever is that's another story. Whether or not it's useful, that's another story as well. Like I don't know.
Biological, melanin
It has nothing to
content
do
is
with
not
race.
biological at
So
all.
if you have a black parent and you have a white parent, and now you come out looking white, how is that a biological
But
proof of your race?
most of them
There's
come
no
out.
What? What is she? I mean, she's making a good point, but I feel like she could just make this argument better. Because I technically agree with her. Like technically, people would argue this is the way you would say it, right? There's one race. There's the human race. She should argue it shouldn't be called race. It should be called like ethnicity or something, right? But what she's doing right now is she's just kind of denying that there's any like biological factor in the term or the concept of race. Like it's like that is it was all just something created by people and that it wasn't actually based on bio. Because even if it was created by people, it's like if there's a biological element to it that they were appealing to, and that's a real thing, you would have to argue against like half of it. You just have to argue like that it's not fully biological, but you can't just saying it's not biological at all. Like I feel like this is a bold claim that requires a very strong defense.
Most of them. Stop. There's no most of them. You do not have anything to
You're
prove
mixed
that.
race too.
I am not mixed race. My mother is black and my father is black.
Well, my father is.
I mean, what is white and what is black though? Like that's what I'm saying. She's saying it's just a social category, but it's like, what do you mean when you say your mom is white, your mom is black? Are you saying that their physical like characteristics is like your dad has dark skin and your mom has your dad has darker skin, maybe extremely dark skin, whatever. Like he has a particular type of dark skin, right? And your mom has a particular type of light skin, maybe even a specific heritage or something. This is why I feel like her argument would be better if she used ethnicity or something to kind of counter it. and say that that's what it is. But like, because like, if you're saying that that's not what race is, then what is it? You're not really saying anything here. You're kind of just proving him right by saying my mom is dad and my mom is black. It's like, okay, well, what are you when you come out then? Are you white or are you black? Do you view yourself as white or do you view yourself as black? Is that just a social thing? Or is there a biological component there?
Is also considered black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA.
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian.
That wasn't a very good response. But I get what he was saying. He might have been able to do something with that.
And I look forward to seeing your development because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn.
I mean, the thing is, she's probably right. I think the kid probably does have a lot of potential. Like, he's shown from this interaction redeemed him for sure. Like, I think he did a really worse job last time. This time it was actually, he kind of had her on the back foot. And I think that's why she's even saying what she's saying.
Learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things. However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking that you
like, she's also saying this because she can't really like argue against the point that he made. It's like she made it. I think she realized that she wasn't doing a good job of actually like saying that it wasn't biological because she went straight to like talking about like, you know, her mom and dad being black. Like, that doesn't mean that it's not a thing if you come out and they have a term for you, which is mixed.
You are something that you are not. You are a black person who is literally having to receive the results of racism, but ultimately you are of an ethnicity that has thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist.
So she's differentiating race from ethnicity here. Did I miss something? Is he a tether? Did he say his parent was like from Europe or Africa? Like,
and that is where our resilience comes from.
Because she said like he's a different ethnicity. He's black, but he's a different ethnicity.
In spite of systemic.
I mean, some would argue that black is an ethnicity.
Racism.
I think our resilience is happening now. I think growing, understanding the real problems, not going out and trying to protest against. You guys don't ever do this. KTS.
Wait, he said going out to protest. So then he said, you guys don't ever do this. I'm like, wait, he's talking about a particular type of protest? Because they definitely protest. Like, what?
You guys don't ever do that.
KTS
Who is you guys?
Members of the black community that want to hold people accountable, especially
members of the black. I'm so confused.
Black people. So KTS was shot 60 times outside of Cook County, Chicago. How many BLM members came out? You guys, you earlier said BLM
Stop
is
referring to
So he's talking about like BLM blacks?
me as you guys.
Okay, that's fine. So for example,
He said, stop referring to me as you guys. No, I'd have probably stopped him too. Like, niggas, stop lumping me in with niggas. Like, I am me.
we had a really good example of this where it's not a police because I remember you
Where are
said,
you from?
where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from?
Yeah, she said, where you from, nigga?
Where do you live right now?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay.
Where did you grow up?
He was born in Angola. Is that what he said? Angola? Or Indola, whatever. I think he said Angola. So he was born. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa. Why did you even say that? So she's right. He's of an ethnicity. He's not FBA supposedly. That's what she's saying.
For most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine?
Yes.
And what is the population of black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around black people, and there was a black community where I lived.
And that black community that you lived in, did they teach you about black history in the United States?
I
Like,
learned
are your parents black American?
Yeah, my mom is black. My father is black.
No, I'm asking, are they?
Nigga, she asked you if they're American. She didn't even finish what she said. He started answering as soon as she said black. No, she said black American, nigga.
Were they born in the United States?
No, because I wasn't born there.
Oh, so you guys are all from.
Okay, so yes, bro. I mean, I guess an immigrant could have, shacked it up with somebody here, or they could have shacked up here and then had their baby over there and then came back. But like, no, obviously, if he wasn't born here, his parents probably aren't from here. One of them, maybe. Like, I don't
Angola.
Yes, but again, like I told you earlier, right? In terms of people like KTSJ that were shot, BLM doesn't come out for them. And I remember you earlier said,
really
hold on, please finish. You earlier said that BLM is worried about police, but when Daniel Penny choked out the man that we all know was causing violence on that subway train.
He was not causing violence.
He was threatening
causing
people.
disruption is not causing violence.
He was threatening people.
Causing disruption is not causing violence.
And the people there helped him also. And we know that he helped them.
I don't know what that has to do with BLM.
Yeah, I don't like.
Random people on a train is not Black Lives Matter.
They're not talking about the working class.
They
showed up for what?
BLM showed up threatening white people, saying that they were going to
No, they didn't.
Now,
BLM protested.
This has nothing to do with the working class.
BLM protest. Where did you get that from? You see, your sources are not. You're not able to cite your sources. Please go sit down.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's not the truth. It's not the truth. It's not nothing.
They honestly should have voted him off a long time ago. I mean, they got on an interesting tangent, but they weren't talking about the claim at all.
Say is actually the truth. Nothing. You're not even American. You're not even a Black American. As a daughter of an immigrant, it is imperative that Black people from other places understand the disparate difference.
This one is shorter than the other one, so did they leave off that extra period? This is a hilarious screen freeze.
That they exist from Black
or freeze frame.
People in the United States. It is not the same. Period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of Black Americans.
She said, y'all niggas ain't about to come over here and undermine the FBA experience. I feel like she's the only person who just gave a rant like that.
Who feels passionately about something that they want to talk to me about? I choose John Samuel because I like his facial hair and dashiki.
Nah, that nigga might be the only one there with a dashiki. I was gonna say that earlier. I'm like, my nigga wearing a dashiki? Okay. I see you.
Pairing. I feel like he's gonna sing a mean R&B.
Oh wait, no, I was looking at it wrong. Okay, no, they did do the end segment here. It's just, I feel like it doesn't look like it's as long. I don't know.
Which one? My claim is that Black people as a community need to walk away from the Democratic Party and progressivism completely. I'm saying this from a very unique perspective. I'm not trying to shout myself or anything. This is really just my experience.
Black people need to walk away from the Democrat plantation.
Currently, I'm running for Congress, right? And one of the biggest hurdles I have in doing that is the Black community.
He's not. I don't disagree with him.
It's because they expect us to be in this box.
What's the box?
The box would be, okay, you're Black, so you got to be a Democrat. You got to.
Yeah, they expect you to vote for Democrats.
Think this way, you have to have this view on this matter.
Tell me, think what way?
Like,
I really want to understand.
So let's take immigration. That's a hot button issue right now, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
My view is that you should come here the legal way, and that if you don't come here the legal way, you are subject to the laws of the country. But I also feel that if
anyone would disagree with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that a lot of people, especially where I'm from San Diego, would like to put Black conservatives in this box. And the reason why I say specifically in my claim that Black people need to walk away from the Democratic Party is because every single election cycle, all they do is use us as their tokens. They use us as their kind of election tools. They use us as these campaign posters. They tell us to come to their rallies. They tell us to sing on their stages. They tell us to do all these things, and they forget about us 3 other years, and they remember us 4 years later. Every single
He got it cooking. They about to start clapping.
cycle, it happens again and again. And I'm one of the people, like, I really appreciate you because it seems like you have love for the Black community, and you have a love for people, and I appreciate that. And I do too, because I don't express that in the same way as, let's say, as a Black person who's a member of the Democratic Party. I get called Uncle Tom, I get called a racist, I hate myself, I love myself, and I love our people. I love everything about us. We have done so much for the country. We built this table that everyone is seated at. We deserve rights, we deserve all these things. However, what I don't like more than anything, is being used. It's being used by
What table? I'm gonna just let him cook.
Politicians, being used by governments as some type of puppet to say, here's my Black person that's voting for me. I don't like that. And it makes me sad, no matter you're Democrat, Independent,
Can I
Green Party,
respond?
whatever. Yes, yeah, sorry.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
So-
I would add to that it's no different.
Yeah, he just went on a rant, but I think he's saying that Black people need to walk away from the Democratic Party.
Different with the Conservative Party, that there is 1,000% a use of Black people to weaponize a concerted effort to literally, quote unquote, make America great again. The concept of make America great again did not start with Donald Trump. It started with Ronald Reagan, and it happened.
So She's saying she agrees. But she's like, y'all need to do that with the fucking Republicans too. She's like, yeah, I agree with you. So y'all need to stop cooning. If we need to stop cooning, y'all need to stop cooning. Or I guess maybe not we, because she probably doesn't consider herself to be one of those like black Democrats. So
right after the Civil Rights Movement, there was a very strong, visceral response by white people after the Civil Rights Movement, after the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Fair Housing Act of 1969, the Economic Opportunity Act of 1965. These were all efforts that were put in place on a federal level to say, okay, fine, here, damn, we're going to give you a little bit of something to get your weight up. After that, there was a active effort made by conservatives, because that's also when we saw the flip between the Democratic and Republican parties. There was a flip. That's actively what happened. There was a flip. And
Since Reconstruction, Democratic Party has been the
flip. The party flip.
party of slavery, the party of racism.
There was a flip because the Democrats were more aligned with making these civil rights concessions than the Republicans. That's the flip. Ultimately, though, the flip is what people are misappropriating, because the flip isn't a 180, okay? The flip is literally just, we was this and now we this. And that is not the same as we are for black people. The Democratic Party is not for black people, nor is the Republican Party. Any nation that has a bipartisan...
Yes. I'd have to agree. She's making a pretty good argument here, too. I mean, the claim is like, they should walk away from the Democratic Party. She's like, yeah, they should probably walk away from both.
System that doesn't even allow for its own people to determine who are going to be the candidates for president isn't for its people in general, beyond blackness. So it's imperative that we begin to truly understand the systems at work in this government that not only hinder us as black people, but they hinder anyone who wants to see change, because they are ultimately working together. Now, do we see one party activating higher levels of discrimination than others?
You said they're working together? Damn.
Yes. Do we see one party that is more violent per se than others? Yes. And we can say this on many different levels. But when it comes to like enacting genocide or destabilizing other nations, we know that that happens on an American level, regardless. Okay. I completely agree that.
She like, when they want to do a genocide, they work together.
The idea that you have to act a certain way as a black.
Like good cop, bad cop routine. No, don't kill him. This is required for our nation.
Person is really problematic, because the Democrats and the Republicans, neither of them actually care about black people. And when we talk about conservatism, or we talk about being a liberal, neither of these aspects were grounded in how do we help to repair the harm that we have caused an entire group of people who made it possible for us to even have a constitution. So you can sit here and show me whatever you want.
No. The reason I was going to show you this is because
even with that constitution, we weren't even humans. When they wrote it.
So, that was another fact check I wanted to kind of fact check before, but I couldn't say anything. But the 3/5 compromise had nothing to do with your 3/5 of a person. The 3/5 compromise had to do with representation in Congress. So there's a little note here if you open this.
The 3/5 compromise said
you were counted as 3/5 of a person, nigga. What?
that the Southern slaveholders needed to be represented fairly in Congress. And because there were so many more slaves than actual white people in the South, they were allowed to count their slaves as representation, even though those slaves did not have the ability to vote.
If we were at that time, let's say the 3/5 compromise never happened, we were a whole person as in light of the government, right? If that happened, then this America would not.
I can't believe he tried to refute that claim, bro. This is a bad look.
Be the America that you know today, because what it was is if it was we were counted as
defending the 3/5 compromise, bro.
Can you listen? No, listen for a second.
Okay.
He basically is. Like, there's no, you don't even need to defend that. You don't even need to clarify that. You just don't even, you just like a coon trying to clarify it. Because it doesn't even matter. It's like, nigga, they said you are only worth 3/5 of a person as a vote, even though you weren't even a citizen, you weren't even allowed to vote. They were allowed to count you, but they were only allowed to count you as 3/5 of a person. It doesn't matter whether they were actually declaring that you were only 3/5 of a person. They legally put it in that you didn't count as more than 3/5 of a person, as according to the law. So they basically said it. That's basically what it meant. Now, why would you argue? You don't need to argue. You don't need to clarify. Oh, well, actually, that was only for voting numbers, and you know, they just didn't want to consider us a full person for voting numbers because they didn't want them to have more control. So what, nigga? They still did it.
Because I don't want you to mischaracterize what I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
Slavery was wrong. It was absolutely disgusting and immoral thing.
Okay.
I have nothing good to say about that. But
Nobody asked you to say that, nigga. We know that. We know you should think that. What the fuck?
Three-Fifths Compromise, if you counted a person who was a slave as a whole person at that time,
Yes.
most of the slaves were held in the south of the Mason-Dixon line,
just
right?
said that, yeah.
So what would happen is they would have more representation in Congress, and thus those laws that were, by
We know. I'm pretty sure she knows that. You're not getting any points from arguing this.
the abolitionists, those would have been gone. Okay, so that would have gave the South more power to do the things that they couldn't do. So that's why they said the Three-Fifths Compromise, because then.
Yeah, we know. We know that's what they claim.
If it's Three-Fifths Compromise, they don't get that power. But of course, they're people, so they have to say something, and that's where this came into play. Because if it wasn't for that, this country,
even if it was true, it just is irrelevant here.
would have looked a lot differently.
So you're suggesting that it was okay for slaves' bodies to not only be used for labor, but also used to empower those who are harming them to be fairly represented in government?
I think it's absolutely, they should have been used, period.
Okay, so then we agree on that.
Yeah,
so we agree on that.
It was absolutely abhorrent. There's no excuse for it. There's no
So
justification
then
for it.
where's the argument? Because ultimately when there wasn't...
Yeah, like what are you actually arguing? All you wanted to do was like clarifying. You just wanted to show, look, people, I know some stuff. Contrary to popular belief. Niggas, nobody cares. Shut the fuck up. You're not arguing shit. You sound dumb. You just wasted a bunch of time. You just wasted all of our time. Congratulations, sir.
In Reconstruction, for there to be equality and humans considered in a real way and protected?
Democrats torched it. Andrew Johnson.
Yes, as well as the Supreme Court. That's actually more important what we have to acknowledge. The Supreme Court torched it. The Supreme Court has actively throughout this...
The Supreme Court made a number of decisions that hindered racial equity during the Reconstruction. We're reading the fact check. That includes the infamous Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal decision, which approved or allowed for segregation. I mean, yeah, they upheld the precedent, so because they said separate but equal was fair, it allowed the government to segregate. Even though I guess you could say it hindered racial equality. But to be fair, I doubt they had actually had anything on the books that disallowed segregation. So is it really the Supreme Court's fault that they made a decision that it was constitutional because of the Supreme Court for that? What the fuck? She's so man. She's so man. Jeez. The most random glitches. We at the end here too. We about to wrap this up. And this fucking computer, bro. God, I guarantee you it's the NVIDIA update. It looks like it's an update for the graphics card. It keeps fucking resetting.
Entire existence.
But yeah, again, what she was saying, I don't know if we can really blame the Supreme Court for because they did set a precedent when they made the decision. But I mean, as far as the Constitution is concerned, I don't think there was anything in the Constitution that explicitly disallowed segregation. I think it perfectly fit with it because it's technically protected under the First Amendment. Now, whether the government should be enforcing that or not, I think technically. Okay, so I guess if you're looking at it from this perspective, if the Supreme Court is making a decision on segregation, as far as the government being able to implement segregation, that would violate the First Amendment because you have freedom of assembly. And I don't think that just applies to protesting. It's you have a freedom of association and freedom of assembly. So if the government is imposing segregation, then that's wrong. But if the government is just basically, yeah, because I mean, if they create something that's specifically for whites and something that's specifically for blacks, and they say they're actually policing it or whatever, then at that point they are quite literally running afoul of the First Amendment. So I guess you can blame the Supreme Court there, because if you agree that there's a different interpretation that can make it so that it's actually a violation of the Constitution for the government to impose segregation, not necessarily for segregation itself, because people want to self-segregate, then that's still, First Amendment rights. But yeah, I mean, they might have made a bad call there. So I guess you can blame it on the Supreme Court. Never mind. I retract my statement.
Of this nation been at the forefront of impeding any advancement, and it ends up sending us back over and over and over again because it doesn't have term limits, because it doesn't have term limits. It's not elected, it's appointed, and ultimately they have made it abundantly clear that they pick and choose when it's the states that are going to have rights and when they're going to be in a federal position of precedence.
Well, that has to do with the supremacy clause. So the supremacy clause is when a federal law is in conflict with the state's law. The federal law, for example, in California, weed is legal, right?
But federally
it's not. So they can come down here and they could say, hey, we're going to rate all these places, and they would be completely in line with the law.
And so this is how segregation and discrimination.
Yeah, they'd be completely in line with the federal law.
Ended up existing even after the civil rights laws of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were passed, because Congress said we need to protect black people, and the Supreme Court said we actually are not going to give you the right to do so. For what it's worth, I think we can do this.
I mean, technically, because people are going to typically, like, especially the judges are going to uphold Supreme Court precedent. So once the Supreme Court basically says it's okay, I mean, they can still just amend shit. Like once civil rights happened, that was essentially what the Civil Rights Bill was. So now it was constitutional, even if it previously wasn't.
Do this back and forth all day, but at the end of the day, I will completely agree with you. Black people need to let the Democrats go. I think black people need to let both of these parties go and figure out a way to move forward together in our own nation.
You know what? I can actually get on with that because...
Yeah. I don't even think they really debated there. I mean, he tried to push back against something like... He picked, it's just.
I don't believe that all Republicans are, good and not using us as well. I agree with that. I agree with that. And
let's sing a duet.
I'm for no matter what color skin you are or black, whatever it is, just think for yourself. If you think for yourself and you do your own research and you want to be a liberal radical, go for it. If you want to think for yourself and be a Green Party, go for it.
I agree with this.
If you want to be liberal and be a Republican, then go for it. It's okay.
Yes,
I'm down for that. Think for ourselves. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. I appreciate coming on the show.
Why they have to? It was going so strong. Why they have to do that? Why she have to do that?
And debating with Amanda.
I mean, it was funny, but like, we want to hit every stereotype today. Damn.
I could see that there was a care for the community and there was a care for wanting to uplift us rather than treat us like a monolith. And that's what I'm all about. Regardless if you're a Democrat, Green Party, Republican, like, I just think that people are far more complex than we give them credit.
There is an active
I can't be mad at them.
Effort of folks on any side of the aisle that want to see the elevation of black people to be able to come together and have real conversations that are grounded not in stats, and this is going to sound real woo-woo, but it's what it is, that are grounded in love. And I hope that whatever...
I mean, that doesn't sound woo-woo. And yeah, the conversation probably shouldn't be grounded in stats, but some stats wouldn't hurt. You can have love and stats. They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Whatever anyone took away from this conversation is the reality that I really do love black people. I love people, and I love the ability to exist on this earth and have access to joy.
I think sometimes things get a little bit heated, and that's okay because emotions get
I ain't really mad at nothing she said.
the best of us. But I think overall she did pretty well for her position. I don't agree with her for the most part, but I think she did pretty well.
Just kind of seeing this dynamic that this is really what happens. A lot of times when we look at discourse, we look at it online, so everybody's typing and typing. But this is what real discourse looks like. When you have to really sit in front of someone and unpack your arguments, you can see the pressure that that causes and how you have to really kind of have your thoughts together and how heated and emotional it can get. So I think the fact that you guys, created this space for us to be able to do that is awesome. Whether it was productive or not, we'll only see. Hopefully some of the things that, we said stick with Amanda. She was using some of my quotes, about like resilience and everything. And I was like, okay, so I'm planting a little bit of seeds there. And then of course there were times where when she was right, she was right. And I was like, you know what, she has a point. So I think it's pretty productive if you allow it to be.
So that wasn't too bad. That wasn't the worst thing ever. It wasn't the best thing ever for sure, but that wasn't the worst thing ever. You could argue that last one there was a kind of productive, right? They were basically on the same page, right? So I mean, I like seeing that generally. So, hey. So shout out to them. Shout out to Jubilee. I like seeing people make like claims that are hard to debate against, because it does force people to concede certain things. But sometimes I want some of these people that go on Jubilee to actually come up with some more like controversial claims or whatever, like some claims that are like harder to defend, because a lot of them just seem to be like, the statements they're making, like they know that the other side is gonna kind of agree probably to some degree, and they kind of frame it a lot of the time to make it look so that the other person would look crazy if they denied it. Like, she definitely did that. So it was really funny to watch. She did a good job. I mean, I can't really say she probably done the best job as anybody I've seen on this show. Regardless of the strength of her claims, actually, because even when they started arguing about like the side tangents and shit, she was kind of cooking them still. Like, some of these niggas still didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. They would start bringing up some shit on the side topic and wouldn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Like, little nigga that was saying like systematic racism wasn't a thing. And then they got on the tether talking about, she's like, this nigga's a whole immigrant. And then we got the girl talking about the black people's reputation. I'm like, they're not talking about the claim at all. Damn near none of those claims were really addressed, and the arguments that were brought forth kind of tended to reframe the argument. So it was a lot of shifting of the burden of proof there. But hey, it is what it is. Everybody was talking about this one this week. They hopped on the grift before me, and we having like technical issues over here anyway, so maybe it's for the best. But I still wanted to knock that one out. I went out of my way to do that for y'all. I'm not doing it for me. I was just all selfless, okay? So now that we've knocked that out, we can move on and try to do some other debates. And for all I know, like, next week, Jubilee is just gonna drop another one, and then we're gonna be talking about that. But hey, like, I wouldn't necessarily be mad at that either. So, because I kind of like these. These are kind of fun to do. They're really irritating to like check for logical consistency, because I mean, like, even if there is some, there's usually not a lot of it. There's definitely like, they're usually not even on topic. But that does make it a lot more enjoyable, because I can still kind of analyze those arguments. So all in all, I'm gonna start giving these a rating. So this is gonna be the first time I give one of these a rating. All in all, I'm gonna say that one was maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10, because that was better than the average. That was probably the one I've enjoyed the most. I might be biased though, because I'm black. So, I love watching niggas argue. So, but other than that, thank you for joining me, beautiful people. Be sure to follow, like, comment, subscribe, yada yada blah blah. And I will see you next time. Maybe covering another debate. Maybe an Andrew Wilson debate. Maybe a Whitson debate. Who knows? Maybe a David Wood debate. I've been thinking about like covering this debate on like the Muslim dilemma. I watched it already, but I can still do a logical analysis of it. It might be a little bit more difficult though. But it was a fairly entertaining debate, so I might show y'all that one. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if we want to do that one. I will try to start streaming some more of my gaming, so be on the lookout for that. Usually in the middle of the night. But until next time, I bid you beautiful people, au revoir.